Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first instance of Creatures That Go Bump in the Night, which is our special Nocturnal Animals talk here on Zoolife. Oh, and I see we've gotten lucky at the beginning of the stream, and they're so fast sometimes. Sometimes it takes a really long time to spot the kiwi. Yeah, there's one of them. Hard to tell which one that is. But there is one of them right there for us. They're such strange animals, right? And honestly, that's kind of the whole point of this talk series that we are going to be doing here. Nocturnal animals have all sorts of strange adaptations. Countless ones that we can't really cover them all in just one talk. So we are going to be doing a 4-week series about them, focusing on a different group of nocturnal animals every week. And this weekly talk is going to be happening every Monday at this time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern. You can, on Zoo Life, the schedule will automatically convert the talks to your local time. So if you are in a different time zone, don't worry about that. As you guys may have noticed, at the beginning of me turning on the Kiwi camera for Twitch, and then for those of you that are watching through Zoo Life, you probably noticed that there was a very unique time zone up in the corner here where my face currently is. Um, we are watching a camera that is live from New Zealand, which is why it is so dark in this camera view right now. Kiwis, if you guys haven't guessed, are nocturnal animals, specifically nocturnal flightless birds. And the only time that this camera is live is basically nighttime over in New Zealand. So they're kind of hard to find sometimes, but oh, I thought that was something, but that looks like a little light moving around. Hello, everybody. Welcome and good morning. I can say good morning to all of you because I know that you are on this side of the world and are experiencing probably the same, roughly the same time zone as me, if not the exact same time zone. So, for those of you watching on Zoolife, I am also cross streaming on Zoolife's Twitch. So, there may be times where you notice me glance at different monitors. That's just to keep an eye on the chats in both sections. For anybody that is watching through Barry's stream, or if Nate, if you're streaming too, um, hello, hi. If you do want to check out Zoo Life yourself after their respective streams or whoever may be cross streaming on Twitch, be sure to go to zoolife.tv/Twitch. We're going to go ahead and get started though, because honestly, sometimes I can go a bit long with these talks, and I'm sure that's not much of a problem for a lot of people that enjoy talks and learning about animals, but it is the morning. I will need coffee eventually. Hello, chat. So this series is called Creatures That Go Bump in the Night, and I am Dr. Wildlife. Obviously, that's not my real name. My name is Courtney, but everywhere that I do science communication, I am known as Dr. Wildlife. So I am a fandom-based zoologist. I do pretend to be a green tiger on the internet. So I have a very unique approach to science communication, and I'm very blessed that I have the career and the job that I do working for Zoo Life. Um, Fully supportive of my unique twist on science communication. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I believe that you have to be as unique as possible for science communication, whatever makes it as engaging as possible, because um, honestly, traditional science communication methods haven't always been working. We got to do something to grab attention. For me, that's doing costumed. We had a follow over on Twitch. Two follows. Hello, Tori Darkfire and Vesper Lurk. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's the this is my first stream over on Zoolife's Twitch, so it's very exciting. Tori asked, "What is the main diet of a kiwi bird?" So these guys are omnivorous, but mainly they're going to be eating worms and other little insects that they may find on the forest floor. And that can mean anything from like um, millipedes to even centipedes, slugs, snails, any kind of wormy thing that you're going to find. Hi, Al. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we do host these talks primarily on zoolife.tv, but we are starting to branch out and host some of the talks on this Twitch channel. So for those of you that don't have an account on Zoolife yet, you can still have a small taste of the talks and kind of see what we're about and see if it's something that you want to engage in. So many follows right now. Yarnaholic. So as I was saying, for me, being unique for science communication and engaging for science communication is um, being a green tiger on the internet, doing my own Twitch streams, doing my unique Twitter posts. For Zoo Life, that is providing these webcams that are not only they're not just static cameras that give you a one set view of the animals. They are interactive cameras, as you could see from someone controlling the camera right now, allowing you to get really up close with these animals and provide a connection that even going to a zoo or an aquarium in person doesn't always do. So it's just a very 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 awesome interaction that these cameras are able to do. But a little bit more about me. So as I said, I'm known as Dr. Wildlife on the internet. My name is Courtney in real life. I am a zoologist. I have over about 13 years of experience over that now. There's a moth on the camera. About 13 years of experience in the world of zoos and aquariums, working with everything from penguins to toucans to elephants and rhinos to tigers and most recently crocodiles. I'm now the product operations manager for Zoo Life, and I'm helping build a very unique platform here alongside the Zoo Life team to provide you guys some engaging animal based content. Guberus ramberticus. I love that. That's such a great name. So, as I mentioned, for those of you that may be joining in now, also, I just want to say on Twitch we had a follow from someone named Snail Lad. And as a fellow snail and slug lover, I am so excited to see that name. So, thank you. Thank you for that. And as I'm doing this talk, as you guys are already doing, oh, I think there may be a kiwi back there. Feel free to keep hunting for the kiwi. Sometimes, as I'm doing the talk, I forget um, to click around and look for them as I'm focused on chatting with all of you. So feel free to control it, move it wherever you'd like, and hopefully we will see them again. So when we're talking about nocturnal animals, we want to also talk about all the terms that are around their nocturnal behavior. And one of those that most people seem to forget about when they're talking about nocturnal animals is something called diurnal. So does anyone know, whether in Twitch or the Zoo Life chat, what does it mean to be diurnal? And thank you for the follow, Airy Kitty. My partner joining in on the Twitch action. Does anyone know what diurnal is or want to take a guess? I'll give you guys just a couple more seconds to type that in. No clue. Well, that's what I'm here for, to answer that. We're going to learn all about what diurnal is. So, diurnal is essentially it could be plant or animal based behavior, but in the context of this talk, we are talking about animals. And basically it is any type of behavior. It's characterized by activity during the daytime. So we're diurnal. Unless you are a night owl and you stay up really, really late, then you may not be diurnal. But when I say we, I mean humans. We are a diurnal species. We are awake during the daytime and we sleep at night. On the other hand, we have another term, once again, that isn't anything nocturnal, but is kind of on the cusp of what nocturnal is. And that is something that's called crepuscular. Anyone want to take a guess on what being crepuscular is? Oh, also Twitch chat. Your messages just now came through. You guys had the diurnal. Here you got it first. Diurnal animals are awake in the day and asleep at night. Yes. Yeah, and Al, thank you. You got it as well. Well, since you guys are so great, what does it mean to be crepuscular? I need like Jeopardy music to play. One of my watchers said that word. Yes. Crepuscular. Awake at dawn and dusk. Yeah. Yeah. So crepuscular is an animal or a type of behavior where the animal is most active during what are essentially the twilight hours. We usually think of twilight just at night, but technically it could be during the morning, which is dawn. It's any period that isn't exactly day and isn't exactly night. It's the in between, which sounds really creepy. For those of you that watch Stranger Things, it's kinda like the upside down, I guess. It's like not quite one thing, not quite the other, just a very strange period of time. So that's what it means to be crepuscular. And now that we have those terms out of the way, we could talk about what it means to be nocturnal. So nocturnal animals are animals that are exclusively active at night. And I love when there's like a little light shine on the camera because I get so excited thinking it's the kiwi's eyes. I don't know if you guys see that on the camera right now, but it's like a light shine or a moth or something in the distance. Oh, those kiwi, they blend in so well, so well. And just as a side note before we continue, I've been in New Zealand. I did a study abroad, and I went to this amazing, uh, yeah, the emoji drops. They're perfect. Yeah, it is. It is so exciting. But I've been to New Zealand and I've been to a wildlife sanctuary that had kiwi like free roaming, and we were out at night with little like red flashlights hiking around looking for them. It was so difficult. I can't remember if we ever found any kiwi, but we did find some tuatara, which is really cool. In their burrows. For those of you that know, tuatara is a, to put simply, very strange. Oh, and there's the shiny rock again. It looks like a kiwi, it's not. Yeah, it's just a wet rock. You should hold on. We should take a picture of the shiny rock. Oh, I think there's two or three of us trying to get the rock centered. Okay, we're gonna Twitch. You're gonna see me. You're gonna see a little pop up as I take a picture of this rock. Oh, so another. Okay, I won't take another one. I just tried to take one, and it was. I think it was because someone else was taking one. That rock does look mighty crepuscular. It does, yeah. So in terms of like, oh, hold on, my Twitch stream is being a little strange. Here we go. When you're cross streaming, there's so many chats to keep an eye on, but we're good. Someone in the Twitch chat said, "Let's rock." I love that. So, nocturnal behavior. I feel like we all know what it is at this point. So let's move on to talking about some reasons for being a nocturnal animal. So there's a lot of reasons that people or species, I should be saying, are more active at night rather than the day or even the crepuscular hours. And the most obvious one is that they are avoiding the heat of the day. So things or biomes like deserts, where out during the day it is incredibly hot, and the only time that they are able to exist out into the out into their environment looking for food or looking for water is at night when the sun has went down. And essentially this is an adaptation that enhances something known as osmoregulation. And if you're a biologist or have an interest in biology, in any way, you've probably heard of that term before, and that is essentially a way of not losing out on that precious water in those desert like biomes. So that's the most obvious one. Obviously, there are more. complicated reasons for being nocturnal. One of those is something called niche differentiation. Um, as you guys probably know, animals feel they fill specific holes in an ecosystem. They have what you would call their duties in an ecosystem, and it's not something that they, of course, think about. It's not like when you go to a job and you're like, "These are my duties for the day." It's a tiger isn't going out into an environment and be like, "These are the things that I have to do today. This is what I do in an ecosystem." They don't think about it. It's not a conscious decision, but they do have these specific roles in an ecosystem that they fill, and um specific areas of the ecosystem that are kind of built for them in a way. Once again, not a conscious decision. It's not like someone built this forest or built specific areas of a forest for these species. It's just something that has happened over time through adaptation. Now, back on that topic, some animals are nocturnal because during the day, specific resources that they would be using are taken up by other species. The biggest example or most relatable example of this is hawks and owls. So during the daytime, a hawk may be patrolling a set field and looking for rodents and such. And if an owl or a nocturnal specific owl was active during that same time, they could get into some really big tussles. So instead, the hawk patrols that area during the day, the owl patrols it at night. And that basically means that there's less competition for prey and other resources because they are just dispersed out over time. Within that 24-hour cycle, which is really awesome to think about. Now, and I feel like this is another obvious reason for being nocturnal is to avoid or enhance predation. So some animals may be active at night because this is how they are able to easily avoid predators because the predator is most active during the day, or vice versa. So there may be some animals who are predator species that find that it is easier for them to hunt down and snatch up prey during the nighttime. So are lifestyles like that being nocturnal more of a genetic and sexual thing than like the species learn what times are more survivable? Yes, in a way. I don't know if I would quite call it like learning, because once again, it's not a very conscious decision. Um, as an individual, that individual may have learned that if I am more active during the specific times in these specific areas, I can find more resources. So at an individual level, yes, they could learn. As a species, it would be adaptation. So animals that um, were more active at night may have had more access to resources, which made them better fit, which means that they were better able to reproduce or were actually able to survive to reproduction, and their genes were able to be passed on. So, yes to your question. As I talked it out, I was like, yeah, it actually is a full on yes. Individuals learn, but the species, that would be more genetics and adaptation over time that they do. Yeah, adaptation's a tricky thing, a tricky thing. Now, today specifically, I know we're looking at the Kiwi Bird camera, but we're not yet talking about the Kiwis. This first week, we're going to be talking about bats. And the reason why we're talking about bats while looking at the Kiwis is because the Kiwis are kind of like our staple nocturnal animal currently on Zoolife. So it's really neat to actually have a live nocturnal animal camera on while we're chatting about these topics, even if it isn't necessarily um, a bat. Now, on that note, while we're talking about kiwis, them being a New Zealand animal, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but I believe it was New Zealand held a contest to vote for like the best bird species, and it was actually a bat that won the contest. That was like a few months ago, like a month or 2 ago, which is quite interesting. There's all sorts of bats. Some of them could be more diurnal or daytime dwelling than the nocturnal ones. But specifically, what I'm going to be talking about, or what specific group we'll talk about today, are the mega bats, otherwise known as the fruit bats. It's like a penguin winning best fish contest. They oh gosh, we need to see if there's fish contest and then enter penguins. We should. We should see. So, megabats are also known as fruit bats. That's probably how you most commonly refer to them. Um, they they belong to a very specific scientific family known as Pteropodae, and that is in an order of animals known as Chiroptera, which is the order that contains the bats. If you're unfamiliar with taxonomy, which is these fancy scientific names, essentially all the animals they belong to um, kingdom Animalia, and then under kingdom Animalia, there's essentially layers. I always bring up this joke, and my students always hate it, but it's kind of like Shrek, where we're talking about onions that have layers. Taxonomy has layers. And as you get further in or further down the list, you're getting into more specific categories. So bats would belong to kingdom Animalia, they would belong to class Mammalia, and then once you're in that class, there are more specific groupings. So order is pretty specific. Order is talking about bats, which of course would separate it from cats and dogs and all that sorts of stuff. But family makes it even more specific into a specific category of bats. You knew it would be Shrek. See, yes. Absolutely. So what's um really neat about megabats or these fruit bats in particular. Megabats are the only family of bats that are incapable of larynx based echolocation. They don't echolocate. They don't. That's kind of crazy, right? Like most people think that all bats echolocate. These guys don't. They don't do it. And what makes it even more interesting is we still don't know why they don't do it. We have no idea. No idea. There's a lot of research into it, but it's still very unclear if their common ancestor, that is, the common ancestor of all bats, was capable of echolocation or if only specific lines evolved it. So, aka, did all bats start with echolocation and the megabats lost it? Or did the common ancestor not have it and then specific groups evolved it over time? Do they look instead? They do. They have very amazing eyes. Very amazing eyes. I know. I can't echolocate either. I wish I could. I wish I could. Now, the reason for this is actually quite obvious once you get into the nitty gritty. So, megabats, they're quite big. It's in their name. They're very big. And flight by itself is a very energetically expensive process, even when you're a tiny thing like a hummingbird, but especially if you're a big, heavy fruit bat. So, echolocation is also very energetically expensive. Now, imagine combining those two and how much energy a bat has to put into maintaining their flight and maintaining their echolocation at the same time. It's a lot of energy. And essentially, megabats evolved. They kind of went the route where it made more sense for their adaptations to be bigger and like bigger wings and just bigger overall than it meant to keep that echolocation or be somewhere in between. And once again, when I say terms like that, obviously evolution isn't something that is a conscious decision. I just use those terms to make it easier, kind of to relate to and such. So they lost it, but they are quite big and very amazing animals. You could think of it in a way like when we're talking about the Kiwis. They are birds. They lost the ability of flight. Al, do the Kiwis get mistaken for the fruit by the bats? Um, no, not that I'm aware of, but that would be a very funny situation. Very funny situation. Yeah, and Al, I am I should be audible on the Twitch stream along with the camera. It's just I have two different monitors that I am keeping an eye on the stream with. So if it takes me a little bit to get to a Twitch chat answer, that's why. But I am keeping an eye on it. How or why did they lose the ability of flight? I don't know the specific like evolutionary path that kiwis took for that, but typically it's a case of these animals found a different niche, like we were talking about earlier, to fill instead. So for them, it made sense to hunt for insects on the ground, and there wasn't really a need for flight. For the most part, until invasive species were introduced, there was also really no big predators that would seek out kiwis on the ground. So it wasn't like they needed flight to avoid predators. But of course, now that's not the case with invasive species. So now we're talking about megabats. We're talking about just how big they are, and you may be wondering, just how big are they? Well, I will tell you, chats. They are some of the largest bats in the entire world. In fact, there are some species that can weigh over 3 pounds or close to 2 kilograms, and they can have wingspans almost to 6 feet in length, which is almost 2 meters. Big, big. Their wingspans can, to give you an idea of just how short I am, but also put this into to a relatable term. There are some bats that have wingspans that are longer than I am tall. Is that why megabats don't echolocate? Their size meant they didn't have to use it. Quite possibly, yes. It's also it's more likely because both those things are very energetically expensive, but it also could be because megabats evolved to do their hunting in a different way. Oh my gosh, I was listening for Barry's stream, was getting my audio from there, and Barry's a goober and accidentally muted. No! Well, I'm here. I hope you can all hear me now. It's very easy to do that, so no problem. No problem. Now, you may be wondering, if they don't have echolocation, how are they finding their way around at night? And I kind of hinted at this earlier, but they have incredibly large eyes compared to the rest of the bat world. Very, very large eyes and very pronounced visual centers on their brain, aka their brain is very, very good at seeing. Very, very good at eyesight and processing what those eyes are bringing in. And of course, they need a very good sense of vision because they don't have echolocation to be able to find their way around. They also have a very good sense of smell. Very good sense of smell. And if you guys have ever looked at pictures of fruit bats, especially more specifically the really big ones like flying foxes and such, they have very big noses. Very strange noses in some cases. One animal that I highly recommend taking a look up is the tube-nosed fruit bat. A lot of people refer to that as the Yoda bat because it kind of looks like Yoda in a way. It's kind of a bit of a stretch, but it does look like Yoda a bit. Very, very strange noses. Now, fruit bats, you may also know them as another name, which is flying foxes. I kind of just said that a little bit earlier, but of course they are nothing like foxes. Um, Foxes hunt meat and other mammals. Fruit bats love fruit. They love fruit. And they'll eat in everything from bananas to mangoes to even avocados. Any type of very pulpy fruit, they are digging into it. Yeah, and not even just pulpy fruit. Any kind of fruit is great for these bats. But what is very interesting is sometimes these species are known to avoid fruit that is either really bright in color or has a very strong smell. And that could be because they have such heightened senses for vision and smell that bright color or that very strong scent can harm them or make them not feel so great. Can you ask if they like corn? Oh, yes. Um, I honestly don't know. Maybe I'll find that, and before talk, next week's talk won't be about bats, but we'll be continuing the nocturnal animal chat. I'll have that answer for you. So, little kobold, you will have to come back. You will have to come back next week to find that. I personally love corn though, so I hope bats do too. I could nutritionally I could not survive on just corn, but emotionally I probably could. I love it. I love corn. I hope you guys do too. This is gonna turn into a corn talk now, so I'm gonna have to move on, or we're gonna be talking about all the amazing ways that you can eat corn. Now, I keep calling them just fruit bats and just talking about fruit. But some fruit bats they will also eat insects, just like regular bats. But in a sense, eating fruit is what is considered the big evolutionary advance. So that is the new path that branched out. The old way of eating, so to speak, is the insects. Yeah, they probably do avoid durian fruits. Very very stinky. I mean, I'm sure we all avoid those too for the most part. So a lot of people seem to think that bats will eat the whole fruit. So they'll just like hold it in some way or pin it down and they just eat the whole thing. But they actually are eating it in an entirely different way. So bats will crush into the fruit using their teeth and they'll basically consume the pulp and juices. In a way, they're just kind of sitting there like just chewing on it gently to make the fruit into a mash. And then they're just kind of sucking on the pulp and those juices. Now, if they keep doing that, it's going to look like they've just sat there and like chewed off chunks like we do. Not that we necessarily chew off chunks. I feel like we bite off chunks. But they're sitting there and kind of like gumming it in a way to mash it down. Why do some bats look like cute winged foxes and some don't? So that is just another amazing case of how evolution could be very, very strange. Just like we have one species of bat that looks like Yoda, and then we have some that look like foxes. If you were to look at even the smallest bat species, they all have some sort of hint of what we would consider fox like appearance. And that I think that's just humans. We like to relate unknown things to things that we do know, right? So if we're seeing a strange animal, I feel like we are already trying to think, what is the closest thing that this animal looks like? And for a lot of these animals within the megabat family, the thing that our minds go to is foxes. But in terms of their overall appearance, they have just evolved to have that very exaggerated like snout to support their nose and also be able to dig into the fruit. And then, of course, the very round eyes to be able to find the fruit. And combined, those little adaptations make them look more like foxes, which is very neat. Now, something that I love talking about with bats in general, but especially the fruit bats. Um, we typically think of bees as being one of the biggest pollinators in the whole world, but in fact, bats are some of the biggest, quite literally, pollinators in the world. They're very, very good at what they do. In fact, in some parts of Australia, the specific bats that live there have been scientifically researched to scatter, and of course we know how they scatter, right? They're not like they don't have seeds in their wings and then tossing them out. That's not how they're doing it. But bats are known to scatter up to 60,000 seeds along their stretch of land that they travel along every night. And that could be something that is like stuck in their fur, or they could be pooping it out. But it's amazing what a group of bats is able to do in terms of pollination. For those of you that are adults and enjoy drinking, you may be interested to know that tequila is almost exclusively pollinated by bats. So, anytime that you have a drink as an adult that has tequila in it, you should give a toast to the bats because they are the ones that help make that possible. Now, on that note, that concludes this first week of Creatures That Go Bump in the Night. As I mentioned, this is a 4 week series that we will be doing here on Zoolife, both on the website, which is zoolife.tv, and twitch.tv/zoolife animals. So you will be able to catch those talks over the next 4 weeks there. We do have some other talks coming up today. I personally won't be hosting them, but there are a few more. Let me just pull up that schedule for you guys. So the next talk that we have today is actually with this same zoo, which is Orena Wildlife Park. It will be happening at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it will be a talk with the slender-tailed meerkats and some of their education team members. So you will be able to watch them there. Oh, I'm so glad you guys enjoyed the talk. My own cat, Wingless Fat, joined me as well. Yeah, so this talk will be every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you guys do want to check it out, for those of you that are watching off Zoolife, aka not on it, go to zoolife.tv/Twitch. There are freemium accounts that you can set up, so free accounts to try them out. And if you are interested in creating your own account, and say you're watching through Barry and Nady, I'm not sure if you were streaming, but um, for anybody that is a follower of either of those streamers I just mentioned, basically poke them, because I'm going to be gifting some little unique codes for them to use for anyone that is interested in joining us for the holidays. So be sure to reach out to them if you're interested in creating an account. But also, I do recommend going to zoolife.tv and creating a trial account to just test it out first. Yeah. If you guys have any other questions, you can find Zoolife on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can go to zoolife.tv, reach out to us there. For me personally, I'm Dr. Wildlife on all platforms, and you can also contact me through the Zoolife website. Thank you guys for tuning in to our first Creatures That Go Bump in the Night. I'm so happy to have had you guys here. For those of you watching on Zoolife's Twitch channel, there are other cameras that you could test out on Twitch in between talks. This goes for everybody watching elsewhere. You can catch the hippo camera at twitch.tv/zoolife hippos. And when the camera is back on, it's not currently on, you can catch the tiger cam at twitch.tv/zoolife tigers. So thank you guys so much for joining in with us today. So happy to have you guys here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.